Matt Bell here. I'm one of the drivers of the Stevenson Motorsport number 9 Chevy Z28R. I'm also one of the in-house instructors at Sim Raceway in Sonoma. Want to talk a little bit about Daytona. Just got home. It's not true. I got home late last night. Just finished watching the 24-hour race at Daytona. And a little bit of a spoiler alert. The reason I'm doing this video now, and when I probably should after tomorrow when I actually get to debrief with my team, is I figure most of my team is still out celebrating because Team Chevy with the Corvettes just won the GTLM class, and it came down to like less than 2 seconds over the BMW. That BMW is pushing pretty hard to catch up, but in the end, the Corvette won, and it came down to just flawless execution. Because both teams had their little issues, but both teams rebounded. After 24 hours of racing, it came down to not just one lap, but much less than that. Very, very close racing toward the end of 24-hour race is always fun to watch. Anyway, and that team aspect is actually what I want to talk about a little bit in debriefing with everybody here after Daytona. Stevenson Motorsport's an all-pro team. That means we have all-pro drivers. We don't pay the bills with gentlemen drivers. We come in expecting to win these races. We want to tackle the races with the best tools we have. We have Pratt & Miller, which is actually the same company that runs the Corvette racing team. Stevenson Motorsport does a great job hiring the best engineers, the best technicians, everything on the team. But there are a lot of benefits that come into having a multi-car team. So Stevenson Motorsport runs 2 cars, the 6 car and the 9 car. 6 car has Robin Liddell and Andrew Davis in it, and the 9 car is myself and Lawson Aschenbach. There are a ton of benefits to this, a few of which I'll go into in a minute. I'll go over practice first. Practice didn't go well for us, at least didn't go well for me. We were hunting down a lot of braking issues. We just had to go from the factory 6-piston carbon brake package to what we ran last year, which was a 6-piston steel brake package. And now the series, the BOP, the balance of performance, has shifted a little bit as per the rules, and now we have to run a 4-piston steel brake package. And 4-piston brakes are very, very tiny for a car that races, I believe, at 35, 50 pounds. So a little bit of a learning curve for us going into Daytona, which obviously has a big benefit to having a good brake package. The brakes have always been an advantage for the Camaro here, but the Z28 is going a lot faster and actually races a lot heavier than the SS used to, as per the rules. But anyway, we had some issues in practice. The ABS was failing. ABS is kind of a controversial topic. A lot of people like to say that race cars shouldn't have ABS. They might be right. ABS in our case works well better than the driver could. This is a car that was not made to run without ABS. It's a production car when it comes down to it. All these cars are. So it's very difficult to get the car to run without it. Even more difficult than that is when the ABS fails intermittently while you're pushing the brake pedal, as it did for me a couple times going into turn 1 at 170 something miles an hour here at Daytona. So had to figure that out right away. And unfortunately, that wasted a good amount of time. We didn't get a chance, or I didn't get a chance to really get comfortable in the car before qualifying. In fact, we were just constantly plagued by issues before and a little bit after qualifying. I think by the end of the weekend, we changed an engine, a transmission, 2 drive shafts, a couple axles, and as I've already said, the whole braking system. So a lot of work for the guys to get through. All that said, we did get to play the team car aspect even before qualifying, where we separated out the Lowdown, figuring out which setup path to go down. The 6 car went one way, the 9 car went the other. So when we felt that we didn't really have time to figure out our setup, we just got to hop over and say, hey, can we borrow the setup from the 6 car? That was a benefit to us as far as sorting out the car. It wasn't a benefit to me because now going into qualifying, I only had a handful of laps, or at least not enough where I felt comfortable with the car, but those laps are now in a car that felt completely different to the car I'm actually going to go in for qualifying. Went out behind Andrew Davis, decided to use this draft a little bit as a buffer to sort out my learning curve of the car and buffer my mistakes. Worked out perfectly. Andrew was in third place, and I was in fifth place at the end of qualifying, which meant we were both in the inside row, which was good. If we're not on pole and outside pole, this is very good for us because it means we're both in the inside for the first turn at Daytona, which is really where your position is going to be contested for that whole first lap at least, because turn 2 is such a bottleneck. So very good for us, and that played into our initial race strategy, which was to just hook up on track and push each other around. So lesson number 2, as far as an all-pro team running 2 cars, or any car, any team running 2 cars, is especially when you go to a track where you have a huge disadvantage. In our case, it's top speed. The Z28 has the biggest engine, but it's the biggest car, so it pushes a big hole through the air. And when you obviously have 2 cars, the rear car is getting a big slipstream from the car in front, but also that rear car is helping the front car because it's spoiling some of the drag that's normally behind it. There's big low pressure behind the car. When you stick a Camaro's nose right there, a lot of that drag has to go around both cars now, so you have a longer surface. And that adds a couple mile an hour to your top speed, which is really all we needed to run together, or to keep up together with the fastest cars in a straight line, things like the Mustangs, the Aston Martins, and the Porsches. So that was very good for us. Our stint went perfectly. I acted like a pick for him in traffic, and he helped me out in traffic. We just stayed together. In fact, we pitted nose to tail, so we ran our whole stint together. It advanced our way through the field, came into pit, hopped out of the car, let Robin hop in the 6 car and Lawson hop in the 9 car, and they pretty much resumed right where we left off. They went back out and pushed their way through the field together. And when the checkered flag flew, the 6 car was in 2nd position and the 9 car was in 3rd position. We couldn't quite catch that Porsche, but that's still amazing that this was actually the first time that at Stevenson Motorsport the GS car team shared a podium, which is amazing, and I'll actually explain that. It's not just amazing because you can point that to the driver, point that to the car. It's everything. Everything went perfectly. The strategy played out perfectly. So the guys running the strategy did their job exceptionally. The engineers got the cars close enough together that one car didn't have too much of an advantage in one part of the track and a disadvantage in another part of the track. We got the cars acting very similarly. The drivers did their job. It's very easy for a driver to see even a team car in front of them with a big draft and go ahead and pass them. When you're leapfrogging back and forth, you don't get to play that pick advantage, and it just ends up slowing you down. So it was good that the drivers all kept their egos in check, and they decided we're going to come out of Daytona with an excellent team finish. So very, very rare set of circumstances to happen in that way. Stevenson Motorsport runs a very family-oriented team. Everyone knows their job, down to the driver. And it's amazing to see us come out of this track with this kind of result. We always go into Daytona assuming we are going to be terrible. This track is very high speed. We're not a very high speed car. We're great with downforce. We're great at places like Watkins Glen if it's raining. We're great at places like Road Atlanta. We're really good at Lime Rock. Very short lap, ton of corners. There's no straightaway at Lime Rock. So going into Daytona, which is the biggest straight we're going to see all year, and coming away from Daytona, sharing a podium, being 2nd and 3rd in this championship right off the bat is very, very good to see. We're going to go into Sebring. We're going to be nice and strong. I wish I could share with everyone the type of development that goes into these cars before Sebring. We got a little break. It's like 2-month break before we're at Sebring. We're going to do some testing. We're going to figure it out. As I said, we're going to kind of hunt for that window and set up getting these cars working even better than they are right now. We're going to sort out the braking issue. We're going to sort out all the little problems that we found at Daytona. We're amazing at Sebring for some reason. It actually does have a pretty long straight, but our cars are really good at braking. And Sebring is a pretty brake dependent track. Also has a couple really high speed corners, which is good for us. Actually, last year at Sebring was the first time one of the Z28Rs was on the podium, and it was also the first win, and it was only our 2nd race. So we're all very excited going into Sebring, 2nd and 3rd in the championship. I know it's only been 1 race, but everyone has to understand that we're usually just not even on the chart yet at Daytona. So we're all very happy. Keep tuned in. I'm going to try to do as many of these videos as I can. I think it's something that's missing in the racing world. Not many people get to see the driver's eye on a debrief. This is exactly the kind of conversation I have with the team. We go into more detail that I can't share with everyone on a video that's going to be on the internet, but this is the world of racing from the driver's eye without any sort of televised fluff added to it. So anyway, I'm going to try to do one of these videos before Sebring. If not, I'll definitely do another debrief after Sebring. So keep tuned in. Thanks for watching.